Well, it's Friday. It is the last official work day of the week. Today being the third day in the month of July 2020. Glad to have you join us this morning. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions. It's still the part of the morning show right here on Flow 94.9 FM. This is the flow of God's own state. My name is Michael Oni. Now, this morning we're taking a look at the planned resumption of classes for preparation into final year examinations, talking about those in JSS 3, those in SS 3, and also those in primary 6. Now, there is a plan, and of course the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has clarified the controversy surrounding the resumption of schools across the country. The PTF chairman, that's the Presidential Task Force, and also the secretary to the federal government, Boss Mustafa, made the clarification in Abuja at the PTF briefing on COVID-19 yesterday, days after the government said graduating students could resume classes in preparation for their examinations. Now, he reminded Nigerians that the PTF had announced some limited measures for the education sector, although he insisted that it was still not safe to reopen schools. But the PTF chairman explained that President Muhammadu Buhari approved the resumption for graduating students in order to not to truncate their progression. So it's very important for those at those classes, the final year classes, primary 6, JSS 3, and also SS 3, to resume school for preparation of the final year examinations, the WAEC, the NECO, the junior WAEC, and of course the primary 6 examination. Now, he said the president approved that arrangement be made for them to resume for those who needed revision before the commencement of examinations. This is coming on the heels of agitations from different stakeholders on the reality of the directives.
At Flow 94.9 FM, we've got conducive and well-secured environment for business. High-tech video studio, a state-of-the-art production studio. You can also listen live on www.flow949fm.com and watch our videos on YouTube at Flow FM TV. Flow 94.9 FM, not just radio, but a complete broadcasting house.
Well, Joseph Ilo there saying we need to increase the testing already before we can say we're resuming schools. Now, do you think it is the right time for schools to reopen even for graduating students? That's the big question we're asking this morning on the platform. Now, this is coming at the time that the Academic Staff Union of Universities implored the federal government to reconsider its decision on the proposed reopening of schools nationwide. The union also expressed this concern amidst the increasing cases of the coronavirus pandemic across the country. Dr. T. Dikwo Akomolafe, the ASU chairman of the Olusegun Agagu University of Science and Technology, made this appeal in an interview, and according to him, the reopening of schools was likely to make more children and teachers vulnerable to the disease. So these are some of the questions we will be considering this morning, and of course taking a look at, do you think it is the right time for schools to reopen even for graduating students? We have joining us this morning a stakeholder in the education sector, Mazi Enyihabo. He's a regular anyways, anytime we have discussions as it concerns education sector in Nigeria. Mazi Enyihabo, glad to have you join us this morning on the program, the platform. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, great. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
All right, let's quickly go straight to the discussion this morning. We're taking a look at resumption of schools. Do you think it is the right time for schools to reopen even for graduating students?
Yeah, to say whether it's the right time or not the right time, we're looking at a lot of variables. And I think that is also what the federal government, under the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, has done. And look at the variables. And if you look at the release they made, they said specifically that they had looked at, scientifically looked at all the variables and come up with the recommendations that have been made from various sectors of the economy. And that's worth looking at, because it's not something that anybody can say, because they have a clearer picture of what is happening in the country. So if we just look at the figures of infections going up We may not have the complete picture, but they have said they relied, their decision came from reliance on science, data, and experiences from other jurisdictions to sustain and modify their strategy on the fight against COVID-19. So I think that they have made a wise decision, considering also that these children we're talking about in the exiting classes. Let me give, for instance, the people in SS3 have taken JAMB, and their JAMB results are out, and some of the universities have already started taking post-GME, and they're just waiting for their O-level results to proceed to the next stage of their life. And so if we don't give them this, they'll be stagnated. What we are trying to do is to see how we can contain the spread of the coronavirus, and also make sure that other sectors of the economy and other people's life are not stagnated because of this. And so I think it's a cautious move that the government has made by, first of all, bringing in the students from the exiting classes, and then cautiously watch what is going to happen before a full resumption of the whole schools.
Now, the federal government has made the move to allow graduates and students to return back to school, but are the schools ready? That's another big question we should be asking.
I don't know what form of readiness that you are talking about, because there's nothing new that we're going to do now.
Readiness in terms of compliance with the new normal, fumigation of the schools, and of course social distancing.
In terms of, that's what I'm saying, that we have had Ebola, and during the time of Ebola, the only thing that is introduced now that we didn't have at Ebola was a face mask. And already everybody is used to wearing face mask. We are gotten used to it. It become part of our new normal dressing. And so that is it. Every school should have, and is supposed to have, had their hand washing stations, temperature thermometers, non-contact thermometers, and other sanitizers. Even the secondary schools, their laboratories can produce sanitizers. Universities can produce enough sanitizers to be enough for the whole university. So yes, really, in terms of social distancing, like I have said before, the government is cautious in allowing only the examination classes coming. So if you have in a school, a secondary school, only JS3 and SS3 is coming in, that's not even up to half of the population of the school. That's like 1/3 of the population of the school. And so you can achieve social distancing very much in that place. In a primary school, if it's only primary 6 that is coming in, that's like 1/8 of the population of the school coming in. And you can, of course, achieve social distancing. So they can take the exams, and then we'll watch the figures and see how things work. And after evaluation, then we can see whether we can continue bringing other students back or not.
It will be very easy in some schools in Nigeria, you will agree with me, while some schools will also try and cope with maintaining social distancing with the number of students they have. We've been battling with a lack of classrooms in some public schools managed by the government in Nigeria. Do you think, looking at some of these circumstances now, do you think it is possible that social distancing, you did mention that it is possible maybe in the private sector, but in the public sector, social distancing, it might be difficult. What do you think about this?
It's the same thing. It applies both in private and public schools. If you have, for example, let me give you an instance, a school like the Federal Government College, Girls College, Umuahia. Assuming the population of the school is 2,000, the SS3 and JS3 students can only account for like 1/3 of that population. And then if all the other students are not in school, then you can even, if you want to put only 10 students in a class, you can put them in a class to take the exams. And so you will achieve it very much. It's very much achievable in any school, whether public or private. So, because I don't see, there's no school where the SS3, except people who are running miracle centers and magic centers, there's no school where the SS3 will outnumber the rest of the population.
Interesting. All right,
yes.
Mazi Enyehabo, I do really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much for being part of the program, the platform on Flow 94.9 FM. So you're saying we can go back to school and follow some of the measures. It is possible.
It is possible. We can do that cautiously as we look at the figures and evaluate after every period. We evaluate the people on ground, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health in the states can do weekly evaluation. Once we see these figures spiking up, and then definitely we shut down.
Interesting.
But we can't leave the children. We can't leave the children to stay at home forever.
Okay, just before I let you go, don't you think there are other areas that are not being touched by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 before saying yes, we can go on and allow the graduating students to return back to school?
Which area is that?
I'm saying, don't you think there are some areas that have been left out by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 that should have been touched to allow?
It's a progressive evaluation they are doing. Anyone that is not touched now, for example, the tertiary institutions have not been allowed to open yet because their own case is a little more complicated, getting people coming from all over the world and all over Nigeria and coming back, and the population social distancing is much difficult. So right now, cautiously we are they will evaluate every sector, and as the matter arises, and they will be able to take a good decision to that. I think it's not that they didn't see those things, but it's a multi-sectoral thing. And so when they look at it, they'll be able to get all the picture that they need to get and act on the ones that need immediate attention.
Move on. Another area is the inclusiveness of some stakeholders being carried along. The parents also, they are stakeholders in this situation, and it looks like they've not been carried along before that particular huge decision was taken just a week ago. They were saying that, well, we will not advise the federal government to reopen school right now, because about 80, according to the federal government disclosed that 80% of the parents across the country are against the reopening of schools, and they are not ready, according to the words of the Minister for Education. Then I remember during that Presidential Task Force briefing that parents are not ready to use their wards, their children, as experiment.
Well, when we look at that, the federal government has been talking with the National Parents Teachers Association of Nigeria, which basically handles federal government colleges and some few public schools. So if they are talking to them, they're not even talking to the whole parents. So it's not an all-inclusive. It's just like federal government says now, we are talking with ASU. ASU only handles public universities. They don't handle private universities. So, I mean, when we are looking at this, but the Federal Minister of Education, the Minister of Education also responded to that in his speech 2 days ago. And he said that it's not compulsory that you must send your child back to school. That if you feel that your child is not safe enough to go to school, or the school is not safe enough to accommodate your child, you can keep your child at home. That is not compulsory. But what we are trying to do is to make sure that the school is as safe as possible for every child to come back to school. And if anybody believes in the education of the child, we can't toy with it. I said that I continue to use the word cautiously, so that everybody cautiously monitors this. The parents have a responsibility to go to the school and ensure that the protocols are being observed themselves. You don't just sit in your house and say, the school is not safe for my child. You go to the school on the first day of resumption, maybe without your child, and check what have they put in place. And if those things are not in place, you call the school management and say, why are these things not in place? I don't accept that these things. Of course, parents are stakeholders and they should have a talk, but they should go to the school, not to speak on radio, and then they should go to the school their children are attending and be sure that the protocols are in place before they bring their children back. And I think that's the responsibility of parents.
Mazi Enyihabo, permit me to allow you stay on the line now while we get reactions from our listener this morning concerning this discussion, so that you can respond to some of these issues, some of the issues raised this morning on the program. It's a very interesting and, of course, a very important discussion. Do you think it is the right time for schools to reopen, even as for graduating students? Of course, if you're a parent, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the reopening of schools at this time that there are fresh concerns concerning the rising cases of coronavirus in the country? And of course, if you're a student too, what do you think? You can also, we want to hear from you. Let's hear from you this morning. 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. You can also drop messages on 0906 510 8289. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you. You are flowing with Honorable Chris Mwogu. And I am radiating from OBZ in the local government area of Imo State.
You're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you, my brother. I want to support the idea of reopening schools for our children. Now, not only primary or secondary schools, even the university students who are about to graduate. The only thing the government or the authorities should do is to monitor and make sure they comply with the directive of preventive measures. Make sure that they comply with that, wearing of face masks and washing of hands as directed by the government. We can't continue to keep our schools closed. This thing has come, it has come. We are going to live with it until God himself decide to clear it. So leaving our children at home will not help us. It will draw them back. So we only monitor them, make sure they comply with the measures. As simple as that.
All right, Honorable. Thank you for your take. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Mike.
You're welcome.
My name is Justice.
Okay.
Okay, about the reopening of schools, for my own idea. Well, it's a good idea for the graduating students, mainly the primary CSS register and the final year in university. But my question there is, what about maybe building of isolation centers in schools, or those medical centers, in case if there is any increase, any students that contain the coronavirus?
Suspected case of a student. All right, that's a very huge question. Mazi, did you hear that concern coming from someone this morning, having isolation centers at some of the schools? You didn't get that?
No, I didn't hear.
Now the question is, is it possible to have isolation centers in some of these schools in case of a suspected case reported, maybe a student contracting the virus in the school premises or probably exhibiting some symptoms?
Michael, I have to tell you that the school is not a hospital. The school is a place of study. The teachers are not medical personnel. They are not equipped to handle any form of illness. Many schools have what we call sick bay. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Many schools have what we call sick bay. And so when a child has some illness or presents some symptoms, what is done is to remove the child from the class and put the child in a sick bay, and the parents will be called to come and take the child home. Even if it's a secondary school that has boarding facilities, they have sick bays. So they call the parents of the child to come take the child home. Maximum, the child can stay in the sick bay for 1 day. Now, the issue of isolation center in schools, I think is something that is misunderstood or misrepresented by people.
Okay.
I don't think anybody would ask that an isolation center be put in a school. Because I will ask a parent, if you hear that your child's school has an isolation center and there's a child that is suspected to be COVID-19 positive in that isolation center, will you allow your own child to come to that school? The answer is a capital no. So it will not work. The isolation center should be in a medical facility where trained medical personnel with the right equipment are available to take care of any suspected case of COVID-19 and not in the school.
Okay, that's entertained. Yes. More calls. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Michael.
You're welcome. What's your name?
Alvan.
You're welcome, Alvan.
The problem is not about the problem is the level of compliance with government or health experts is very, very poor, especially between this youthful age bracket. They don't observe this protocol. I am at a tower area, you just need to come around here. Nobody is putting on face mask, people behave the way they want, the vehicle carrier is not as they want. Nothing is happening, no enforcement, people are not complying. Now you understand that the numbers of can be how do we reconcile all this? I think we must be very, very careful. In fact, it's better you stay at them on their line than going to...
Okay, Alvan, now to the question now. You're talking generally. To the question, do you think it is the right time for schools to reopen, even for graduating students?
From what we're seeing now, from our own observation, if the level of compliance will remain very poor, then how do you think students will comply to this direction? And besides, the NUT health, they are not in tune with this reopening of schools. So what I'm saying in the first is that we must be very, very sure that necessary provisions are met, and at least the level of compliance is direction. So come on, otherwise everything is kind of remains. I'm not saying I'm not happy with the level of compliance. That's the major, factor.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning.
This is Mr. Biro from World Bank.
You're welcome, Pastor.
You see, it's good, to, based on what he is saying here, to lift up all these bans too. In as much as market has been lifted partially. But I can see market is more crowded as well. And with the levels, government are adopting the lift up on food now, it's very nice. At least what the man is saying that is quite okay, it's quite clear. If they provide 6 students, at least they cannot be enough. They cannot be up to 100 people here. So they are going to be a real social distancing. And the way they are doing this is a normal thing. But as they continue like this, that will enable them to open school in full. But for us to keep our hands like this every day, we are still expecting without any fear or anything telling us that this is the medicine for this coronavirus. Sometimes it makes me marvel. So I thank God that the federal government has come up with this pattern. I think it's very nice. The government should encourage it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome.
Good morning, and Maziabo.
Thank you.
I remain Mr. Prince Wiloswago, calling here from Momonachi, Noble local government area. My brother, let us be factual in what we are doing. When two persons are fighting and when it has reached a stage, at quick one of them is now speaking on each other, remember that war is all over. For federal government to issue a partial lifting of COVID-19 order, to me, I think the COVID-19 has defeated them. As regards school issue, I don't like the idea of opening a school half-nail. If you want to open a school, you open a school fully. Because school is one of the essential ingredients of societal development. You can't tell me that you're opening a school for only senior and junior secondary school. It's not done. Believe in me that most of the schools or most of the proprietors are going to abuse it. They will use that order to open the entire school. Everybody will now be claimed to be a Fanayo student. So if the federal government wants to open a school, let them open a school and give orders for a precautionary measures to be taken so that this disease will not be spreading. Whether you open a school or not, the disease is going to be spreading because of the federal government's orders. Imagine what the governor is saying, that there's something like COVID-19. Imagine Gandhi of Kano State, whose state violated the order of COVID. It has now resumed every activities in Kano State. Let federal government look on those people that are abusing it and stop them, not schools. To me, I believe that federal government should open schools. That is my statement. God bless you.
All right. I know Mazi wants to react to that on total opening, not a partial opening for graduating students.
Yes, Mike, I agree with the federal government that we should do a partial opening because we have not yet defeated COVID-19 100%, and we have not flattened the curve. What the government is trying to do is to see how, while fighting COVID-19, they can still allow our children to those whose academic future is dependent on the immediate examinations that they have, not to be frustrated and drop out of it. And that is also another way of testing the waters before we do a full resumption. So bringing in the exiting classes, most of the schools, the exiting classes are even lower in number. The only class that may have a high number is the JS3 class. But like most schools that I know, the SS3, the numbers have been depleted by magic centers all over the place. And that is also... Now, one important factor that we need to look at is that when we have issues of compliance, or non-compliance, we don't kill the system because people are not complying. What we do is to strengthen our monitoring and evaluation, systems. Okay, so if, for example, Abia State lifted the ban on religious worship and gave some guidelines, and the committee has been going to churches and ensuring that these guidelines are being followed. It doesn't mean that there are some people who are not disobeying, but at least to a large extent, the people have complied. The churches have complied after a few of them were met disobeying, not doing social distancing and all that. And things are getting better. If we do the same in the school, yes, I know some people may want to bring in, even as we speak now, some people are organizing illegal schools, illegal lessons in halls, church halls, community halls, and all those kind of things. Should we allow them to continue to operate illegal schools where they endanger our children more than bringing them to a formal school where they can be monitored? So that's the question we need to understand answer and understand.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
Mazi Enye Habo, thank you very much for being resourceful this morning on the program, The Platform.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right, let's head back to take get more reactions on the phone lines. This morning, 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Can you move away from your radio set, please? Okay, that's great.
My name is Onov David from Imo State.
Okay, you're welcome.
About the resumption of schools, it's right, but if you look in the side of the financial students, every school has its own systems. So, whereby you allow the only graduation students to take their exams, the other ones will stay sit at home. So after the exams, when the resumption of the whole schools come to stay, that means everybody will just go into exam class. So I would just say that we should just forget everything about schools. And if government wants to open schools, they should all open every schools at the same time.
Okay. Thank you very much for your opinion, for sharing your opinion this morning on the program. 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. Drop messages on 0906 510 8289. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome.
My name is George. I'm calling from Alabama, Mike.
Okay, George.
Mike, I want to thank the federal government on their super effort in tackling this COVID-19. They are really, really, really trying. Also, my special thanks goes to Mr. President, Mr. Muhammad Buhari. Again, Michael, opening of school is a good idea.
Okay.
But this COVID-19, like I'm part of those that are in SS3. So opening of school now is good, but if you look at it the other way around, I learned that this COVID-19 can stay on top on paper for like 10 or 5 or 10 days, right?
I'm not sure about that. An epidemiologist will answer that maybe later on this morning.
I heard that when you were doing one of other state COVID-19 updates, one of the epidemic states. So how on this issue now, how are we going to tackle it since the COVID-19 can last on top of surfaces like plastic till 4 or 5 days? How are we going to do it? That's my own opinion. Or are we to wear hand gloves and face mask in the exam hall?
Okay, that's another important
you.
question. All right, thank you, Judge. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Marcus.
You're welcome.
I greet you. I greet everybody there.
Thank you very much.
I like the program that you people are doing this morning. First of all, my contribution goes, I thank Mr. President Muhammad Buhari on the effort they have been putting since in battle against this coronavirus. When it comes to the issue of opening school is a very good idea. But I want to let parents that have been saying or be pressurizing federal government to open school that no Nigeria university can be able to take these precautionary measures if you open school. Go to universities, see the exam halls they are using, see the classrooms they are using, where 2,000 students can be put in a small hall. And there is no way, if this coronavirus is real, I'm telling you the fact that if you open school, the outbreak will be very, very serious. If they value the school more than the life of their children, fine and good. You get me?
Yes, I'm getting your point.
There is no university in Nigeria that is standard to take a precautionary measure of this COVID-19 if school to be open. So my suggestion is, let the federal government find the COVID-19 and fight it to the core before school can be reopened. Because it is far more honorable for our children to be alive than going to school and contract the coronavirus. And at the end of the day, if you die, you die forever. That is it. So if you go to university in Nigeria, you will see what is happening there. You see where a small hall that is named examination hall will be put about more than 1,000 and 2,000 students.
All right, quickly wrap up with that, please.
Medical, their labs there. Only medical laboratory science, you enter in a lab where about 2,000 students will be having practical at the same time. So how can you fight that issue of COVID-19 in Nigeria universities? So this is my own contribution.
Thank you very much,
Mr. President, for giving a deaf ear for the reopening of this school, because parents, they only want their students to go back to the school. But you don't think about the implication that may come up if they go back there.
Okay, thank you very much. On the SMS line, this one says, to me, reopening of schools this time is not good because it will be so hard for us Nigerians to distance from one another. Instead, they should use their continuous assessment score to upgrade them accordingly. In WAEC, there is already on their database for every student who is writing the examination. God's will from Ohafia. Good morning, Mike. I support the reopening of schools by the federal government for graduating students and pupils. The school management should please obey all the NCDC guidelines. Omusiribe, Unduka, Austin. Okay. Good morning, Mike. Opening of schools is very important. For how long are students going to wait? We all need to make sure that we observe all the WHO guidelines. Also for universities, don't you think the students are enlightened and old enough to protect themselves? Well, Cyril Kalu. Okay, that's how far we can go this morning. Coming top of the hour is Abia State COVID-19 update. There is no doubt that education is wealth, and an educated nation is a wealthy. An educated nation is a wealthy nation, and a responsible government must prioritize the development of the educational sector and ensures that her citizens acquire quality education. So, it's important as the government plans reopening of schools partially amid the coronavirus pandemic. There is utmost need to be cautious and careful not to break the smoked fish while trying to bend it. This implies that stringent guidelines must be put in place before schools reopen so that efforts towards combating the epidemic will not be jeopardized. Thank you very much for being part of the program this morning. The platform returns on Monday, and of course it will be another week. Many thanks to the producer of the program, Samson Eze. My name is Michael Oni. Coming up.